Coulter is accused of beating Kendrick Lee to death and leaving his body to decompose for a year back in 2021.
All right, guys, this is Old School Will again, coming back at you with another video, but I must give you full warning that this one is, if you have kids or teenagers in the room, you may not want them to listen or see this video. Although the things that, the case that happened in this one, although it happened here in the city and state I live in, we still here find it pretty hard to believe that something like this could actually occur with humans and kids. I don't even know if you want to classify these two individuals that are involved as human beings, but if you watch it to the end, you'll definitely understand why I made that statement. All I can say is just, well, I can't say too much. I'll let you guys see it. So with all that said, let's go ahead and get started.
Coulter is accused of beating Kendrick Lee to death and leaving his body to decompose for a year back in 2021. The investigators described the scene that they found inside an A-Leaf area apartment in the fall of 2021 as horrific.
All right, guys, the reason why this video is starting off the way it is because Brian Coulter's trial is beginning. And all of this is just to rehash and give you an idea of what this is all about. But his trial started this past Monday here in Houston, Texas. So let's go ahead and continue on.
15-year-old boy living alone with his two younger brothers in Kendrick's body with no lights, no electricity, no beds, roaches everywhere, and a distinct smell. Authorities say Kendrick was killed around the third week of November 2020. The man accused of killing him, Brian Coulter, their mother's boyfriend, allegedly beat Kendrick to death, then left his body in a bedroom. A few months later, in March 2021, court records show Coulter and the boy's mother, Gloria Williams, moved out of the apartments on Greencrest Drive and abandoned the children. By September 2021, electricity was cut off to the apartment. On October 24th, 2021, the 15-year-old called police saying their mother had left them alone for months. One of the boys was beaten so badly he needed surgery. The children also said they weren't allowed to leave the unit. 2 days later, Coulter and Williams were arrested outside a library on Wilcrest. Sources say they were there searching for news articles about the case. By this time, Williams' sons were in CPS custody.
I've lost control. It's not in a good space, and we would have taken all of the kids.
The children had been living with their brother's skeletal remains for nearly a year.
First question is the family's wow. The family is everyone is, you hear it for yourself, but there's a lot of lies that are about to be told in this situation, and it's real easy to pick out the lies.
We have team coverage for you tonight. Rochelle Turner has more on the investigation.
But we begin now with Taisha Walker with the story you'll see only on 2. Taisha, what else did the family have to say to you?
Lauren, the family says Williams basically was estranged, that they would hear from her on and off. Her number was always different, as well as her address. In fact, they said they didn't even know that the family was staying at this apartment complex because the last time they met them over the summer, it was just the boyfriend who came outside of the apartment complex a 15-minute drive away.
She just said last time they came over, only the boyfriend came to the front door, so kind of tells you they kind of like knew where they lived at.
I seen the news or the news article about the kids, but I never thought it was her.
Christy Smith and everyone sitting on this couch is related to Gloria.
They heard the news article about the incident, but they never knew who it was. I think that on the news article, they kind of told you throughout the entire city of Houston as to what was going on, where it was, and who these individuals were.
Williams. The 35-year-old mother of 6 is charged with injury to a child and tampering with evidence, while her 31-year-old boyfriend is facing murder for the death of her 8-year-old son, Kendrick. Harris County deputies say Kendrick was beaten and his corpse was left to decompose for 11 months inside of an apartment the couple abandoned to live elsewhere.
Kendrick was autistic. To my knowledge, when he would come around our family, all he did was smile.
Cousin Yasmin Craig says Kendrick was mostly nonverbal. She says as a family, they offered to raise Kendrick when he was younger, but William refused.
My mom has been asking for Kendrick since the day he was born. All because
Number 2, she was asking for the child since the day he was born. So what happened in between?
we knew that all these kids, eventually, she was not going to be able to be the best parent she can be.
Family members say Williams had 6 kids, including the 3 surviving boys who were also living in the apartment, and 2 girls, whom she no longer has parental rights. Melody Robinson has full custody of the youngest daughter and says CPS told her this late last year.
Because Gloria gave up her rights to her and she failed the first child, that they would be going in to take all the other 4 boys.
The family says Williams was estranged, only reaching out for money, always saying the kids were fine.
Anytime we did go help, where the kids at, how they doing? Oh, they in.
You know, that's what she said. Anytime we did go help, so there's another one. Evidently, they knew where they were because they went over to help.
School.
Yeah, it was always.
So we never had an apartment number. She always be like, okay, I'm gonna meet y'all at the front of the apartment.
You can meet a person at the front of their apartment, but you're not gonna know exactly where they live. All you had to do was go by the main office, and possibly you could have gotten exactly where they were.
Another question so many viewers have been asking, aside from where was extended family, they wanted to know, how was Williams able to pay the rent here with these kids living here by themselves? The family members that I spoke with say they believe with disability checks that she was receiving for some of the kids. We do know not only Kendrick had autism, but another one of those 4 boys that was living inside of the apartment complex behind me. Reporting live in A-Leaf, Taisha Walker, KPRC 2 News.
Hey players. What happened to the village? What happened to when you see something wrong, you do something about it? It's becoming so common to see an entire system fail children. This is 35-year-old Gloria Williams and her boyfriend, 31-year-old Brian Coulter. Now, Gloria has 4 children, a 17-year-old daughter and 3 sons, 15, 10, and 7. Fortunately for Gloria's daughter, she wasn't living with her. On Sunday, October 24th, police were called to City Park 2 apartments to do a welfare check on Gloria's children. Her 15-year-old called the police, stating that he was living in an apartment with his younger brothers.
Now, keep in fact, the child made this call almost a year later. His brother was deceased way prior to that.
With no electricity and no food. And the 7-year-old had been deceased in the apartment since 2020. Police arrive on the scene and find the home in deplorable condition. The 15 and the 10-year-old were malnourished, and there was in fact a child deceased in the apartment. The child explained that his mother Gloria and her boyfriend don't live with them, and they come by periodically to bring them food. The children were removed from the home and now they're in foster care. The police caught up with Gloria and her boyfriend Brian, and they questioned them but released them. An autopsy was done on the remains of her son, and his death was ruled a homicide due to blunt force injuries. So the police began investigating the two. Neighbors said that they would give the 15-year-old food and charge his phone whenever his electricity was off.
Neighbors would give them food and charge his cell phone, and the child was deceased inside the apartment. So evidently when he opened up the door, no one noticed anything that was out of the ordinary, I guess. The foul smell or the flies or
One neighbor said that they saw the 15-year-old sleeping outside on the slide. Another neighbor said that they smelled an odor coming from the apartment and they complained. So the apartment complex started doing inspections this month.
Folks, if you ever encounter something like this, call the police so they can do a welfare check to find out what is going on.
The boys attended a Leaf ISD school, but the district said they haven't seen them since May of 2020. The school district actually had 2 truancy cases for 2 of the boys, one in 2019 and one in 2020. But the cases were dismissed in May of 2020 for COVID-19.
So even with the school district, even after the truancy paperwork and all this was done, no one followed up on all those months after this to see where these kids were. They still weren't in school.
In a recent post on Instagram, you can find Brian Coulter bragging and boasting about the relationship between him and his wife, Gloria. And you can also see him and Gloria eating steak and potatoes and drinking wine. They're eating steak, but bringing the children noodles and snack cakes. Yesterday evening, the 2 were arrested at the library. They were looking at newspaper articles about themselves and probably wondering when they were going to be picked up. Gloria has been charged with injury to a child by omission and tampering with evidence. Her boyfriend has been charged with murder in the death of the child. His bond is $1 million, and if he's released, he has to be on house arrest.
One thing that really aggravates me on this is that they knew the child had expired within this department, and they didn't even have the decency to make a phone call, dial 911 or anything after that. And they knew the other 2 brothers were there in the apartment with their deceased brother. These people are animals. And that's saying it lightly. I try to keep my cast clean as far as the words. If you hadn't noticed, I don't believe in using foul language, and I still don't believe it. I'm not going to let this drag me down all the way down this hole, because this is mind blowing.
We live in a culture where people say it's not my business. But if I see a child sleeping on a bench and begging for food, I'm going to want to talk to the mother and find out what is going on. But she's not a mother. She's merely the carrier of those children. She neglected her children for a tackhead.
The trial for a man accused in a brutal murder of an 8-year-old boy will begin today.
You will likely recall some of the heartbreaking details here. Brian Coulter is accused of beating Kendrick Lee to death and leaving his body to decompose for a year back in 2021. ABC 13's Brittany Wilmore is live in the newsroom with more and the facts of the case. Brittany.
Good morning. Investigators described the scene that they found inside an A-Leaf area apartment in the fall of 2021 as horrific. A 15-year-old boy living alone with his 2 younger brothers in Kendrick's body, with no lights, no electricity, no beds, roaches everywhere, and a distinct smell. Authorities say Kendrick was killed around the 3rd week of November 2020. The man accused of killing him, Brian Coulter, their mother's boyfriend, allegedly beat Kendrick to death, then left his body in a bedroom. A few months later, in March 2021, court records show Coulter and the boy's mother, Gloria Williams, moved out of the apartments on Greencrest Drive and abandoned the children. By September 2021, electricity was cut off to the apartment. On October 24th, 2021, the 15-year-old called police, saying their mother had left them alone for months. One of the boys was beaten so badly he needed surgery. The children also said they weren't allowed to leave the unit. 2 days later, Coulter and Williams were arrested outside a library on Willcrest. Sources say they were there searching for news articles about the case. By this time, Williams' sons were in CPS custody. Neighbors recall the rare times they saw the children.
Like if we go out to the stores, I would see them going with the shopping cart, going to the store or something, not knowing that, didn't do something like that.
Well, Coulter is charged with capital murder, and Williams is charged with injury to a child by omission and tampering with her son's corpse. Coulter's trial will begin later this morning with opening statements, and the surviving children are expected to testify. Our Courtney Fisher will be there covering this when it all begins at 11 a.m. The trial is expected to last a week. Live in the newsroom, I'm Brittany Wilmore, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
All right, guys, if you made it this far, and if you still have your blood pressure in check, I hope you do. There's a lot of fault on this that can go around with everybody, from the individuals, the neighbors, to the relatives. And I must say that I'm dumbfounded how a child can decompose for almost a year in an apartment. Neighbors smell foul odor, and believe it or not, the smell of death is something you never get out of your senses. And how no one called the police when they smell that odor is just mind-boggling to me for that length of time. And even the teenage kid that was also there in the apartment with his brother, I know that he was just probably traumatized. Along with the relatives who, if you notice, they, be honest, there were a lot of lies told, and if you listen closely, you can hear them. And I also tried to point it out as we went along with the video to make you aware of the inconsistencies that were told. It just, I've seen a lot and heard a lot in my career time, but this is definitely at the top of the list. So I'm not gonna say anything further, because some things that I research and look up and try to put out there so that you can see and understand is just, it's mind-boggling. When you thought you've seen it all, someone comes up with something totally different, and this is one of those cases. So with all that being said, I just hope that you stay fully aware of your surroundings and things that happen around you. And as I always say, if you have kids, go and hug them close, hug them tight, and always. This is Old School Will out again, and I'm going to continue to try to keep you abreast as to a lot of the things that are happening in our day-to-day lives. So you stay blessed. So Old School Will out.